open session. Announcements of recordable actions taken in closed session are we have unanimous approval of the public employment. With one exception, we do not approve a .1 general leave for one counselor. Other than that, it was a unanimous approval. Second thing, we had a conference with our legal counsel on anticipated litigation with significant exposure to litigation. We then had a discussion with an unrepresented employee. And our last item, I have right here a little something I need to read. Okay, I need to report out regarding the Office of Administration hearing case number 2014120130. The board approved a confidential settlement agreement to resolve pending and future litigation for a special education student in the amount of $13,500 for 3 years. Okay, so that concludes our closed session reportable actions. Moving on, number 7, I am asking for an approval of the agenda, including time limits. May I have that?
So moved.
A second?
I'll second.
Chuck seconded it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Our next item is the consent agenda. Are there any comments on consent agenda? Public comment?
Yeah, the $7,500 warrant, I'm going to need to move that off to be voted on separately.
Okay, do you have what number that is, Chuck?
Aye.
Let me,
Oh, here it is, 14I. Okay.
yeah, I don't have paper here, so it's the one.
Yeah, I have 14I. Thank you.
Okay.
So we'll move 14I up into trustee considerations. Make it J. Okay, are there any other comments on the consent agenda?
I think we have a public comment.
I'm not seeing any. Okay.
I'm sorry. Are you asking for public comment?
On the consent agenda.
This has to do, okay, sorry. Let me do this. Obviously, I can't hear. Sorry.
Thank you.
No, this is on the consent agenda. Item number 8, approval of the consent agenda. Are there any comments having to do with the consent agenda? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda with the one amendment to move I into considerations?
I move to approve the consent agenda with 14I removed to be considered under trustee considerations.
Thank you very much. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. Thank you very much. Okay, the next item is board president's report. This is something new that I added. And the first thing I want to do is to say welcome to 2015. Holy cow. This is my first meeting as board president at this time. It is the second time I've been board president, though. It's been 4 years, so I just wanted to say welcome to everybody. The second thing that I wanted to do is one of the questions I had from some students, and we've had discussions in the last couple of months, were questions about the fall and meetings and how the meetings seem to be kind of awkward and different than other meetings. And so you're going to hear me as I go. After having the discussion, I thought, it's true. Board meetings are very different. They are public business that is done in the public. And so sometimes they do seem awkward and it seems a little scripted and conversations seem funny, but What I'm going to be doing, at least for the next few meetings, because it also helps to remind myself, will be describing process as we go through a board meeting. And now it came from the students at Tamalpais, and I thought it was a really good idea. So just to let you know. The second thing is that at our governance retreat in November, we had a set of norms that'll be now in place, and I wanted to point out they've been put up on the board. It's the first time that we have had norms as a board. This is a draft. We're going to relook at it at our next workshop, but I think they're really good, and I just wanted to, for this first meeting of the year, go through them very quickly. It's number one, making decisions that are in the best interest of students is our number one norm. Working to get towards continuous improvement, communicating with integrity, honesty, and civility, welcoming a diversity of opinions, having effective deliberations, each listening openly, while others are allowed to express his or her opinion, working collaboratively to strive for consensus, respect the majority vote of the board, celebrate district successes, maintain perspective with a sense of humor, one of my favorites, being responsive to emails and inquiries in a timely and respectful manner, and maintaining confidentiality. We will relook at them, we may tweak them, we may drop them, we may add things to them. But I think they're kind of, it's a nice way to start the year. And again, we're going to have them posted for every meeting. Let's see. So then the next thing on my report, as most of you, I'm sure, know by this point, Dr. Kimbrel has submitted her resignation as of last night. And so I just wanted to say that on behalf of the board, trustees, that I wanted to congratulate Lori on the next chapter of her career and to thank her for her vision and commitment to this community for the past 7 years she's been here. That we've made really significant progress towards achieving our mission and strategic plan. That we have the highest student achievements that we've ever had right now, and particularly with our Hispanic and our low socioeconomic students, which we should all be very proud of. We have a very dedicated and talented team of teachers, administrators, and staff that were, as a result of very hard work. And we are, as a board, very committed, along with Dr. Kimbrel, to have a smooth transition over the next 6 months. And we're determined to have an executive search that will be an inclusive process and a high-quality one, because we're a high-quality district, and that is where we're heading. And just on a personal note, I just want to wish you all the best. Okay, and then the last thing, talking about the superintendent search. The first step in this process is to really look at the process and different choices that we'll have to make. And we're going to be setting later on in the agenda, you see a time for us to be setting a special meeting to start the discussion. But before that time, I'm going to be asking for one of you, Chuck, I'm sorry it's not going to be you because you're in Australia, but one of the three of you to join me and help me out on information gathering. What kind of things do we need to know? What kind of things we need to look at and to start to put together the agenda for the special meeting, which would be the beginning of the search. So between the three of you, I would really appreciate one of you would step forward. It's mainly making, and I'm going to tell you what I'm looking for, is making phone calls, contacting districts who have already initiated their search and asking them how they're going about it, what kind of things do we need to be looking at. We'll call CSBA, get their literature, the Office of Education, and we'll, I just need another person to help me do all this, and so we can expedite this as quickly as possible. So is there any one of the three of you who are interested and have some time in the next couple weeks?
I'll do it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Laura.
Unless somebody wants to fight me for it.
Okay, Laura? Great, that works out just perfect. So Laura and I will begin that, and you'll be hearing more from us. And like I say, at the end of the meeting, at the last items on the agenda, it will be planning, hopefully setting a date for that special meeting. And then we'll move forward from there. Okay, thank you very much. The next is student trustee reports. And let's start with Maria.
Okay. So I'm from Redwood.
And you're going to need to talk into the mic, because that way Chuck can hear you in Australia. Okay?
So we're just beginning our semester, and we got back from our winter break obviously recently, so not a lot has happened. But one of our students, Harrison Jancy, he won the Heart of Marin Youth Award for his work in search and rescue. So that's really exciting. And also Jake Mance, he won the Marin County Human Rights Commission Commission Award for his work with LGBT students, and that's really exciting, I think. So we have a lot of talented people in Redwood, obviously, and we're just kind of beginning our scheduling for next year, really trying to inform the students about their different options, different electives that are coming up, and that's basically it. We're excited for the next semester.
Great, thanks. Zoe?
So Drake, coming back from break, we're in a sort of transition period, really over the next few weeks, but also just throughout the entire semester. On January 29th, we have our open house. It's actually earlier than usual, and that's because we really want the 8th graders to come and see what Drake has to offer. We're really pushing for 8th grade families, so the kids and the parents to attend. I think specifically to hear about the academies and really take the time to decide which academy would be the best fit, as well as other events at Drake and other activities at Drake that they could be potentially interested in. And then also on January 22nd and 23rd, we have course workshops, which we've been doing for the past few years. And what they are is an opportunity for the current 9th, 10th, and 11th graders to hear about various classes that they could take next year in the 2015-2016 year, which includes, they're mainly going to be looking at APs, electives, and science courses during this time. So over 2 days, they will have 5 opportunities to go to 10-minute presentations. So the schedule is a little bit altered, but the presentations are 10 minutes. And they're given by the teacher who teaches the course, as well as even some current students who can give their opinion on the class, what's special about it, how's the workload. So it's overall just a really great opportunity to hear about different electives you can take, you know, everything from contemporary issues to AP chemistry to street law to AP art, and just to sort of hear about what sort of course load you'll be looking at and what the class will focus on. And that has been a pretty new thing, but I found it really helpful in my years that I used it. And the last group that's sort of transitioning is the seniors. I think they're one of the biggest transitions. So they're really looking into the future, what they want in this next, 5 months, what they want beyond that, if they want to go to college, take a gap year, get a job, or anything else. So they're just really looking into the future, yet still trying to sort of get the most out of these next few months.
All right, thank you very much. Sorry.
Tamascal started off, had a good start to the semester at Tamascal. Last Friday, we all went to the ropes course at Fort Miley. We usually do an all-school assembly, and we go see a documentary at the Lark Theater, but this year we got to the ropes course, and it was a great bonding experience for everybody. I definitely met a few people that I've never seen before on campus. We did team building activities and some low elevation activities, and then some higher ones, and it was a great day, well spent day. And yeah, what's been happening in Tampa.
Great, thanks. Emily? What's going on at TAM?
So at TAM, our winter sports, basketball and wrestling, are off to a really great start. They're doing really, really well in their seasons. CTE just had their 1X this weekend, and it's the biggest opening night we've seen in a really long time, and it was a great start. I saw some of them, they're really cool. Also, we're having an All About TAM night, which is on the 26th of January. It's going to be at 6 p.m. And it's to meet with parents and students, just to really show them what TAM's about. It's for 8th graders and other incoming students, transfers. And it's really just to show what TAM's about and highlight what we have to offer them. courses, extracurriculars, and other opportunities. Also, the Tamalpais Foundation is sponsoring a speaker, Chris Heron. He wants to raise drug and alcohol awareness, and he's actually a former NBA player. So he's going to discuss with us the issues he's had with addiction and drugs, and he's going to try and help us deal with how to prevent other bad things that can happen. Also, so what we're having is a Poetry Out Loud competition. We have this every year, and students get a chance to perform poetry, and it is a contest, and there will be a winner with a prize. So we're also having an elective fair, so kind of like what they're having at Drake, students can come and see what type of electives they can choose. So this is for really freshmen and sophomores and juniors. Sciences, some maths probably if they want to take stats or an unusual math course, arts, drama, tons of cool stuff. And past weekend, mock trial got second place at the competition, which is really amazing. They were beat by a very slim margin for first place by the national Menlo champs. So very close, very promising. They're definitely on the right track for this year. Also, I just want to say congrats to Dr. Kimbrel, and we wish you the best.
Great, thank you very much, students. I always like hearing, it's great to hear what's been going on, but also to hear things are going on. So if you do, I'm going to attend. I will be looking for you. The next item is number 11, which is public comment. This is a time during the meeting which is open to the public to comment on anything which is not on the agenda. We ask you to try and keep it to 3 minutes, and so we would like to begin. We do ask you to, since it is not an agendized item, we usually do not respond unless it's just to give information to help move things somewhere. So if you could please, if you're interested in public comment, line up so that I have some idea of how many people, and please state your name so that we know who you are.
Hello, thank you, President McCauley. My name's Joe Mackay, and I'm from San Anselmo. I have 2 kids in the district, one at Redwood and one at Drake. When I last spoke here was on October 28th when we were discussing the raise for Dr. Kimbrel and Dr. McDowell. Mr. Walter made a comment afterwards in which he corrected me on the use of the word pedophile, and then corrected me on discussions about how classes had been canceled or eliminated under Dr. Kimbrel's era. I'd like just to comment, Mr. Walter, that you're not an attorney, you're not a lawyer. Dr. Kimbrel and then President McCauley on March 18, 2011 did get a complaint. That complaint is now subject and part of an ongoing police investigation. And regardless of your uncomfortability with the word, your comments to me afterwards, I think, were inappropriate. As for the cancellation of the Latin department, certainly the Latin teacher didn't decide to cancel their own job. As for cancellation, the idea of having a Mandarin program, which 1/4 of the earth speaks Mandarin, the largest economy is China. It's very disappointing that we didn't go forward with this. Instead, we went forward with New Tech. My child is at Drake. At that school, New Tech got put into the TREC program without our knowledge. We never got a choice to participate on it. The experience has been miserable. There was an unofficial survey that was released. The survey results were very clear. The children aren't happy. I have asked Principal Seabury multiple times to do a survey of how the students are doing. She has declined. I have asked Principal Seabury to put this on the site council agenda, which is my right by law. She has declined. I have asked Principal Seabury to put on the site council agenda the issue of the open campus and drug use at Drake High School. She has declined. This is wrong. This is a violation of law. We need to address that you, this board, directed large sums of money at New Tech. The students don't like it. Daily, the iPads are failing. Daily, they have to go through the disruptions of this program, and I think there are real questions as to the value of it.
Mr. Mackay, your 3 minutes is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate allowing me to speak.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Fahey, a student at Francis Drake High School. First off, I want to thank you for taking the time to actively listen to the issue at hand. As a student at Sir Francis Drake High School, I'm proud to consider myself a member of a green school and community. That is why some fellow students and I were astonished to discover that Drake currently uses non-recycled printer paper. Drake purchases paper from Paysetter, an unsustainable company that uses virgin trees from the Indonesian rainforest. This discovery only motivated me to try to work for change. Already, Principal Seabury, my peers, and I are working together to try to make a change to the paper we use at Drake. However, I believe since we live in a green community that cares about the environment, why not try to make a change throughout the district? We are hoping that as our school board, you take the appropriate action to help our schools be proactive and sustainable as possible. I understand that you cannot vote on this issue and paper purchases are made on site, but I believe that you can all influence the schools to make a sustainable change. Rainforests are crucial to life on Earth, and it's our job as humans to sustain them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi there, my name is Cheyenne Clark and I'm a Drake High School student as well, and once again thank you for your time, and I'm here to remind you of the importance of Earth's rainforests. We all know that the rainforests are very important, but I'd like to take a moment to recognize that rainforests are rapidly disappearing. Every second there is a part of the rainforest that is cut down due to farming techniques and clear cutting. We lose over 80,000 football fields worth of rainforest every day. Two services of the Earth's rainforest that are commonly recognized is the regulation of climate change and large amount of biodiversity. Although Earth's rainforests cover less than 2% of the Earth's surface, they house an estimated 50% of all life on planet Earth. Take the Amazon rainforest, for example. The Amazon basin is the largest reservoir of fresh water. And considering our depleting water supply, it is more important than ever. In previous years, we purchased paper from a company named Boise Cascade that logs directly out of the Amazon rainforest. Originally, 60 million square miles of tropical rainforest existed worldwide, but today, as a result of deforestation, only 2.4 million square miles remain. We'd like to turn our focus to the Indonesian rainforest, which has one of the highest deforestation rates in the world. The Indonesian rainforest is where Paysetter paper is retrieved from. Drake High School is trying to save these precious forests by reducing their footprint and not purchasing paper from Paysetter. Although it might be slightly more expensive, the environmental costs are much lower compared to the currently used paper. This is our opportunity to make a local difference and continue our efforts to be a green school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Hello. My name is Shannon Foley, and I'm a senior at Drake High School. And now that Cheyenne has addressed the Earth's rainforest and their importance, I'm going to address and compare costs with the paper we use now to more sustainable alternatives. Based on the data that Principal Seabury provided, the paper we use now is currently $26 per case. And our school has so far this year used about 28 cases per month. We calculated that this is about $5,700 a year. While some people may fear that recycled paper causes jams in the copy machines, we tested Staples' 100% recycled paper, and it worked perfectly with all the copy machines on our campus. This paper is $51.99 per case. This does not take into consideration discounts for bulk purchases that of course the district would get. We calculated the recycled paper would cost about $13,500 per year. In comparison to the Pace Setter paper we're using now, that's about $8,000 a year. It may seem like a lot, but when put into perspective, it isn't nearly as much as a new football field and a new baseball field. It also isn't as much in comparison to how much we spend on iPads that will be obsolete within 5 years. Let me remind you that the cost calculated for this recycled paper does not include discounts for bulk purchases. The average cost of a healthy tree is $5,000 according to the Rainforest Action Network. Shouldn't we be able to save a tree or two in order to stand as an example for other school districts in striving for sustainability? Marin County's sustainable reputation is something our school district, I feel, needs to live by. New leaf paper would be an ideal alternative as it's acid-free and uses renewable resources. There are more types of paper addressed in the sheets I passed out just now. It includes 30% recycled paper, which is about $10 cheaper than the 100% recycled paper. Thank you for your time and support, and hopefully this information can assist you in making a wise and sustainable solution.
Thank you, and I'm glad to hear you're working with Principal Seabury on this issue.
Hi. So as a group, we went out to gather community support behind this idea.
Excuse me. Could you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Riley. I'm from Drake High School.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We found that many people were shocked to hear that Drake High School, a certified green campus, is using printer and copy paper logged from the forests of Indonesia. We are here tonight to ask for your support from the district in order to pursue a transition to the use of a greener paper product, at least 30% post-consumer paper that is not derived from a rainforest. We have identified an alternative to the current paper used. We have tested it in our copiers at Drake, and we would like to move forward with this initiative. Thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration in support of this transition to a greener community.
Great. Thank you, Riley.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Avery Flasher-Duskanach. I am a graduate from the TAM district. All right, so I live in Mill Valley. Growing up in Mill Valley, I went to good schools. I was really excited to go to Tamalpais High School because I had always done well in school and all my teachers appreciated me and I had appreciated all the things that my teachers taught me. But when I got to Tamalpais High School, I was just very disappointed to learn that that there was just so much not attention to the bullying there. And I was bullied a tremendous amount, and I'd like to now turn my attention over to the school district and the administrators who did absolutely nothing about it. To me and other people, what they did do was focus on irrational complaints that were directed at me. And then because of that, I was asked to leave TAM. I got very depressed. Things were very difficult for me and my family. I went to a treatment center in Utah to get better, and I did. I came back to Redwood High School, and the administrators were there to make things more difficult. I think Redwood and TAM were really good schools because they had really good teachers, and the teachers inspired me and taught me great things. But I think I just need to speak out about the administration, because when I got back to Redwood, I was greeted with not being able to be immersed into the community. I was denied the classes that I normally would be able to take. I was denied. Me and my family appealed it. The district and the administration didn't budge until the second semester I was there for my senior year. And then at the very end, because of some irrational things, they put restrictions on me and made me miserable, and because of that I just couldn't take it anymore, and I left a month early and didn't even attend graduation. And I just want to say that I see utter incompetence in the administration and the district, and I'm completely for the Friends of TAM districts in their fight to make transparency in the district, because I think that's very important that we all take a stand. I agree with the teachers. I think that their input needs to be listened to, because if the teachers had their input, I think things would be a lot better for me and my friends. And because all my teachers at both Tam and Redwood really were good people, they cared about me and I cared about them, and it was a good environment. I really got involved in the theater program, and I wasn't given the opportunity to go to a 4-year college because of the difficulties that I was presented with, because I wasn't offered the proper classes. I just didn't take the SAT, and now I can't go to a 4-year college. I'm working towards it now, but I hope that we all take a stand, because there's utter incompetence in the administration and it needs to be corrected. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming forward and sharing your story.
Avery's a hard act to follow. My name is Melanie Russell, and I am, for the first time in the 9 months that I've attended these board meetings, feeling very hopeful about the experience that my 2 children, who are a junior and a freshman in this district, will have. I came initially seeking answers to questions that I thought were very simple. How does the district make decisions about programs? How does it evaluate programs? And to date, I don't think those very basic questions have been answered. And it was like layers of an onion. As I peeled back each subsequent layer and learned more, it just made me want to cry, what I was finding out about what was happening in this district. And I'm very hopeful now, because I think that this is a critical opportunity for the board. I am so encouraged by the voices I hear from the newer board members, Laura, Michael, and Chuck, and I appreciate the hard questions that you ask and the curiosity that you bring to your role. I sense a very genuine interest in making this the school district that it has been in the past, and as you approach the superintendent search, I really hope that the standard that you will seek is what are the best schools out there, and how can we attract their superintendent, those that are outperforming our district, frankly, is where we should be looking. There's been so much conversation over the last year about districts that are dramatically underperforming ours, and I just want to say I'm really hopeful that you're going to be looking for the best of the best to help turn this district around. You have very tangible concerns that people have raised in this forum, that continue to be raised in the IJ. There was a wonderful editorial that was written over the weekend that was very positive. It spoke to the tremendous pride that this Mark Phillips had in the district until events of recent years. And so I think you have a community that really wants to support you in getting the leadership that we need in this district. And I look forward to seeing that process unfold, and you have my confidence that it will benefit us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Melanie.
My name is Kevin Killingsworth. I have a student at Tam High. And I attended the last board meeting and heard the glowing praise about how well the board and the administration were doing. And AP performance was pointed out as evidence of that. Greater numbers of students were taking the test and the scores were getting higher, which is really remarkable. But unfortunately, when you dig into the numbers and look at them, it's a reverse picture at Tam High. What you saw over the past year is the students taking the test declined by 8%, and the percentage that passed declined by 10%. And yet, that information is sitting on 2 slides that are called strengths in the board presentation, focus on learning presentation dated October 28th. So it's kind of puzzling. I'm not sure why those are considered strengths, but you can also look up other test scores and see where you're getting this divergence between Tam and Redwood. They used to be pretty close and are diverging. And given this deterioration in academic performance and that it's considered a strength, it seems like Tam High is being tossed under the bus. And I'd really like to know why. I mean, when I think of the problem, I look back to when our kids started Tam in 2010, my older kids, and they had implemented a core program that had been in place for a year. And the idea was you would keep 2 teachers together for 2 years to cover English and very basic English and social science for 2 years. And it just bores the students to death. And then when we started, the teacher who had started this was asked, well, how is it going so far? And it was touted as a success, and I quote, because several F students had moved up to Ds. That's D as in dog. That's the measure of success that was used for this program. And to my knowledge, no other evaluation has been made. So there's many things I'd like to know. I mean, why is it that unlike Redwood High, TAM doesn't have a class valedictorian. It doesn't participate in science fairs. It doesn't offer AP physics or computer science. And it's a dumping ground for programs like New Tech intended for low performers. So unfortunately, TAM has become a school that doesn't care about excellence and aspires to mediocrity. And the academic excellence is being destroyed, and the public deserves to know why. Thank you.
My name is Peter Parrish. I'm a teacher in the district at Redwood now. When I started teaching with the district, I was at Drake High School. I worked as a guest artist in all 3 schools, the comprehensives. I've been at San Andreas High School for 4 years and currently at Redwood. So I've seen quite a bit, many aspects of the school, mostly through the fine arts department, but also through the English department, but also working collaboratively on teams of teachers through the ROC program, through San Andreas High School and collaborations there with teachers. Now this year at Redwood as well, increasing, trying to work toward collaboration. In theater, that's all it is collaboration. It's aspects of design and acting and directing all coming together to create a performance. My concerns are that we bring the search for the superintendent to a level of collaboration that we haven't seen yet, or that we have seen, but it's been many years that we've seen that, and that that the board really goes through a listening process to hear the aspects of the community, the teachers, the students, the classified, all staff, so that we can really see where the district is and where we do need to be. Not where we are on a map that's been set and designed and been laid out in front of us, but where we are and where we do really need to be. The listening campaign was a joke, and I complained about that at the time, so I would avoid trying to hire someone professional to listen. You are all professional listeners as board members. That is part of your job. So utilize that and take strength in that. The WASC update I'm looking forward to, but I hope you will listen closely to the aspects and the people involved in putting together the WASC report. My concern is that this avenue of being written primarily by the district and not by all of the stakeholders that it used to go through before. I've been through 2 WASC accreditation procedures, and this year's take, and I believe it's come from the WASC people, or maybe it came from our district, but I was very distraught by our last procedure that we just went through. I know it's an agenda item, but thank you for listening.
Thank you, Peter.
Hello, I'm Benedetto Chico. I have 2 students at Redwood and an older kid who graduated from Redwood. As Melanie said before, this is a great opportunity for the board to show that what you have out there on the wall, you mean it. And we take it that seriously, and you show us, we the people, that we do count. We pay taxes, we send our kids to your schools, to our schools. We got to be listened. And in reference to the process of hiring a new superintendent, I believe that he would consider to have an interim superintendent until the new board will be seated in November. Right now, we have a board member, Michael Futterman, that I'm sure is doing a great job, but he has not been elected. So we don't really know many people will elect him if he's deciding to run, and how many of you now sitting will be re-elected. I think that at the new election, the candidate should show very clearly what kind of direction we want to have for the school district, and so accordingly what kind of superintendent we want to hire for that goals. Right now, the 7 years of Miss Kimbrel has been extremely controversial because of my older kid. I've been around since she started, and the situation has been really an increasing number of fights with the teachers, with the parents, with the team, with the math teachers, fire, and on and on and on. So again, you have a great opportunity to show us that you do listen to us, and again, please consider to have an interim superintendent and to allow the people to vote in November and decide who is going to be the new leader of our district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leslie Lundgren, and I also have a comment that's related to WASC, but it has more to do with the agenda item in December, or solely to do with an agenda item in December. Can I speak to that now, or should I wait until after do you consider that an agenda item? It's just a general comment.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it's not.
Yes.
It's not specific
As long as
to
it's not about
grade.
this,
Yeah,
it's
it's not.
fine. Okay.
So I too had a similar experience. I really actually enjoyed the December meeting. And in particular, there was a lot of data that was presented. And the data was presented as either being evidence of where we're succeeding or areas where we maybe are falling a little bit short. And so my first thought was that if we're going to sign on and say as a district that we're falling short based on data, we better make sure we believe that data is applicable to our district and that it was developed to answer the question that we're asking. It doesn't mean we don't look at it. It means that we have to, I just think we should be very careful, because it could end up being something that as we move forward, we determine that this data is meaningless. Yet a few years before, we cited it ourselves as being evidence that we were failing. What I looked into, because it really always raised my concern when I heard the discussion about the 6-year graduation rate. That always, I think like everyone, it really perked my interest. And what I started to do, I looked at our own numbers that I'm really, I appreciate you providing in the agenda packet. And then I looked at the national study that was done, where they weren't looking at just our district, but they were looking nationally and compared the numbers. And as I looked at it, I came back with a very different impression. I was much less concerned, but I also came back thinking it just doesn't really tell us anything right now. In particular, what I found interesting was that when you look at our numbers, and you really, when you take the numbers that were provided in the agenda packet and look at the students that went on to 2-year or 4-year college, when you look at the percentage of those students that had gotten a degree in 6 years, it's 75%. So that's still quite a bit higher than nationally. Doesn't mean it's okay. Yeah. But if we could get the information about our district, what that same clearinghouse shows nationally, which is how many students go part-time, what percentage of the students start out full-time, how many students transfer, how many students, I think it may even include students that change their major, it might give us an indication whether this really is a problem, because we don't know if it's a problem yet. And so I hate to say, gee, this is something really, really serious, or we're not preparing our kids. I don't think it doesn't tell us anything yet. So that was just a general thought I had. And what I think might help is that you bring a lot of good information. It's really interesting, but I think it would be really nice to really flesh out each set of data and really talk about it with, amongst each other. So if we could open that up, and I see the nod, I think that would really help all of us. Okay. So thanks.
Well, thank you very much, Leslie.
Good evening. My name is Nejat Duzganesh, and Avery is my son. So I'd like to bring up a few more points that are corollary to that. One is that essentially Avery was deprived of an appropriate education because he was forced to take classes in special education, modified classes which we were not told would not carry any credit with universities. And despite our many efforts to have him mainstream because he was intellectually capable, he was denied that. He was also denied participating in the senior drama program, even though he participated in and gotten flying colors, performed with flying colors in many performances. So that was denied. The other point I'd like to make is the behavior of your lawyers you're paying a lot of money to a well-established law firm. It started when Avery was having trouble at TAM. Meetings and IEP meetings were directed by lawyers rather than district staff. And when I confronted them with that, they had nothing against it. They said, oh, there's another district person here. We're co-directing it. Lawyers are not supposed to direct district meetings. The same lawyer denigrated my son at an IEP meeting, and he just left extremely depressed from an IEP meeting. The district, instead of helping my son, tried to destroy him through not only its actions, but through its lawyers. We now have a complaint with the Office of Administrative Hearings in Sacramento, and we delineated 7 large issues, and the first response we got from the district was a letter by one of the lawyers, trying to just dismiss the case as if it's trivial. They said Avery isn't even the person responding when the district already had a document showing that I would be representing him. They didn't even, they said the district is confused about which year we're talking about, when everybody in the district, relevant people in the district, were fully aware what year we were talking about. And that was Avery's transition from the school he attended in Provo back to here. So instead of spending this money on good education for our students and helping Avery, you're paying this money to lawyers who just want to grab the district's money and just write irrelevant things just so they show that they're lawyers. They're using my taxpayer money to try to prevent me from bringing a case, a complaint to the folks in Sacramento. Thank you.
Thank you for coming and sharing. Okay, so the next item we have, and thank you very much for those who spoke, is trustee considerations. Number 1 is a request for funds program coordinator for the Ross Valley Healthy Community Collaboration.
First of all, thank you for listening to us tonight. I am here with a little bit of a different hat on, and that is part of a community collaborative group that we are getting together out in Ross Valley, and we're very excited to share with you. I'd like to first start by introducing some of my co-friends. I think we've become through all of this, a great group of people who are helping build this. Tonight is also San Anselmo City Council or Town Council, and we have a couple of our co-chairs presenting us that as well, so we couldn't all make it tonight. But with me this evening is David Fanan, White Hill principal, and we also have Julie Mozina, who's here as a Drake parent. So thanks for joining us, both of you. Just real quick, just to kind of give you guys a quick introduction, there's been a lot of coalition work throughout the county, and it's been exciting to see it. And about 1.5 years ago, I received a really inspirational email from Dave Fanan saying, hey Liz, why don't we start talking and seeing if we can get one of these going out in Ross Valley. And we talked to a few of our friends and family members and felt that this was something we were interested to get started. We had our first
satisfied and happy student in the Galileo program. I just thought, I know that you hear a lot of unhappy customers from time to time, and I just wanted to let you know that my family is really excited to have our child at Drake, and she's really engaged both socially and academically and challenged every day. So thanks to Liz and her team for their work. Also want to acknowledge Lori's efforts in working with John Wright, who you all know, to help us get this on the agenda tonight, and the board for your consideration of this work. We have been working for almost 1 year, maybe a little bit more than 1 year, as really a group of volunteers. We had some folks in Fairfax that were working with us, Zach Laurie and Armando Zapata from Roots to Branches, which is a community-based organization. And Zach really facilitated most of our work up until about a month ago. He did that completely as a volunteer. Our focus has really been on reaching out to the community, providing parent ed, collaborating with key stakeholders in the community. We had a meeting about 3 weeks ago with the Central Marin Police Authority and several key stakeholders from Safeway to talk about access to alcohol at the Safeway store, as well as we're going to be setting up a meeting with CVS and the local vendors in the community. Just one angle at ways that we can try to help curb access of our young people to alcohol in the community. We also have several different community events that we're going to be putting on for the rest of this year. A lot of more work to be done. There's been a huge groundswell of interest, but one thing we can't continue to do is run it with volunteers and having people, Zach in particular, give of his time without any sort of compensation, because it does require a good bit of time each week, 10 to 12 hours a week of someone's time. So we're here tonight. Renee Goddard from the Fairfax Council is at the San Anselmo Town Council meeting with John, and then tomorrow night we'll be in Fairfax at the Town Council, and next Tuesday at the Ross Valley School Board, proposing that you look in supporting our work with the collaborative, and primarily to support for the rest of this year through June 30th, and then for the following year, helping us to pay for a coordinator position so we can continue this work. Last thing I'll just say is that we have worked closely with the Larkspur Corte Madera coalition, coalition led by Linda Henn and the folks here at Redwood and Hall Middle School. So we're doing a lot of outreach. It's not perfect. I wouldn't suggest that this is the only thing we should be doing, but we have a really captive and engaged community, and we would really appreciate your discussion tonight about it and hopefully support it at your next meeting. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie Mozina. I am a parent of a sophomore at Drake and a freshman at Drake. And first of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for the service and the work that you all do here and the time that you take as volunteers to help represent our community. I really appreciate that. And I also want to echo what David said. My children absolutely love Drake. My daughter is in the rock program and my son is in Mobius. And when they're asked about their experience at Drake, they both use the words, I love Drake. So that's a wonderful, testimony to what's happening for us. But I am also a parent on the Healthy Community Collaborative. I've been volunteering in the schools for years, and this is really one of the most exciting things that I've been involved with, because I am a concerned parent as well. I think that issues around drug, pot use, alcohol, so forth, binge drinking, in our community across the board, children, parents alike, is a concern and something that we need to talk about more. And I think what's great about the collaborative is that it's allowing a lot of people to really talk about this and hearing from different perspectives. Not everybody, is in agreement, and there's a lot of different perspectives in our community about what's right and how to go about those things. And I think what's great about the community or the collaborative is it brings everyone together, gives an opportunity for different voices to be heard, and allows parents in the community to really be involved. And we've got parents from children with elementary school students to the high school, so it's a real range. And the events that we put on so far, we've had close to or even maybe over 500 parents and community members attending the last 3 events in total. Anywhere from 100 to 200 or so at each event. So there's a lot of interest and there's a lot of momentum. And I think, and we've got parents showing up at each of these monthly collaborative meetings. David is always pleasantly surprised that we actually come. So, and we're interested and engaged, and we want to carry this momentum forward. So I think with the coordinator position, combined with the volunteer work of the parents, we've got a really strong opportunity to connect with the community, with the stores in the area to talk about environmental issues around alcohol and drug use, and to keep bringing parents together. We also have a parent support group that's been started to allow parents to come together and just talk about some of the concerns they have and how do they deal with some of the stuff that's coming up for them. So really encourage you to consider this, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. I should have said, this is one of these things I'm going to explain. So for considerations, presentations such as what we've just seen, what will happen next is I'm going to ask for questions coming from anybody on the board, students and ourselves, from the trustees. Then there'll be comments from the public, and then we'll come back up for discussion amongst ourselves. So at this point, there'll be questions. Are there any questions from the trustees, student, or adults of any kind? Clarifications? I actually have a few. Oops. Go ahead, Paris.
I was just wondering if you're also going to be focusing on some other mental health issue awareness, like depression, suicide, eating disorders, and stuff like that.
Did everybody hear the question?
The question is, are we going to expand and continue looking into other issues such as mental health issues, suicide, depression, those kinds of things? The list goes on and on and on, and we are actually this spring and into fall, we're sponsoring a speaker series that's looking into, in fact, what I'm really interested in is developing girls with, what's the word, I can't think of it, resilient girls. So that's one of the topics we're looking into. And yes, all those topics as we have the capacity. So right now, our main focus, as I think was handed out, our main mission is really kind of taking a look at what our community wants and what norms we can build around making us more healthy as a community. But great question, thank you.
Go ahead, Jessica.
I was just going to ask, this statistic on the front, is it a nationwide survey or was it done in the community? Do you know where that was possibly from?
That came from, we're working in collaboration with the county office, and that's actually a statistic that we got from Kristen Law, who's been fabulous at the county office. And she got that from, it's actually a nationwide statistic that we're using. And that one really spoke, we had a bunch of different statistics, and that one spoke to quite a few of our parents, said that was the one that sat with them from the different presentations. This is the one that says that 1 in 10 parents say, believe that their children drink, and 1 in
100.
1 in 100, sorry, I've been doing a lot of statistics lately. 1 in 100 parents believe that their children drink, and 1 in 5 students drink.
By drink, does it mean like regularly?
That part of that statistic is not clear, but that they do participate in alcohol use.
Are there any other questions? I do have a couple of questions myself. What does sponsoring agency mean in the paperwork?
So,
the referencing is that the Tamalpais District would be a sponsoring agency.
right, so we need an agency like in Larkspur, Corte Madera, the Central Marin Police Authority are the sponsoring agency. So the money that is raised for the organization's operations, there needs to be an agency for it to, where the money will be held. And what we're proposing is that the Tamalpais School District be that agency so that we would receive funds from, say, both towns, the Ross Valley District. Supervisor Rice has pledged to support us in the coming year. And then if you were to support that, the checks would be written and would be held in the Tamalpais School District account in a line item for the Ross Valley Healthy Community Collaborative. Lori might be able to, Dr. Kimbrel might be able to talk.
Yeah, are there any other
Yeah, so this is something that
eyes
we
other
do.
than financial?
No, so it's just that we have the.
Mike?
We have the business office capacity and staff to be able to do what is ends up to be a pretty minor function because this is a pretty low level of money. So again, when each of these entities approves the money, it gets sent, it gets held in a line item in our budget, a restricted line item specifically for this collaborative. A similar situation, we are the fiscal entity for Schools for Sound Finance. And so we get all of the money for SF Squared and we pay the bills for SF Squared. And there's other groups that we do this for. So again, we have the infrastructure to do that, and so we volunteered as that's something that our district can do to help support this effort.
Thank you. I didn't realize we did that. Who besides the TAM district is a sponsor? Are you looking to be a sponsor?
So tonight, the town of San Anselmo.
So is it the 4 that were listed?
Town of San Anselmo, town of Fairfax, Ross Valley School District, and Tamalpais School District. And we're expecting the other 3 organizations by the end of a week from tonight will have approved allocations.
Okay. And then in your paperwork, when I was reading, you have not applied for a grant to the county. Is that right? You did not? You decided not to?
Correct.
Which I understand the Coalition for the Twin Cities and the Mill Valley one both got their coordinator for, I think it's a year to a year and a half.
Correct.
Through those funds?
Right, so
why did you decide not to do that?
So we've been in close contact with Kristen Law and lots of folks from the county, and one of the challenges with the pool of money that is being used as far as sustainability is that, first of all, there's no guarantee, we've been told by the county, that that money is going to exist from year to year. Also, there's more and more coalitions that are emerging, and so, but the pot of money, if it continues to exist, isn't growing. And so what's happening is districts or coalitions are seeing that their operating budgets each year are dependent upon the number of people who apply for a grant. And we are looking at trying to have a model that's more sustainable, that perhaps we can count on the money on a continuous basis. Also, I'd say that the way that this process evolved in our towns, we started with Liz and myself speaking and some of our staff, and then we grew with other community members. We've really tried to have it be an effort, and I think, you know, collaboration is an often overused word, but we've tried to have it be a representative of each town with the co-chairs, John Wright from San Anselmo, Renee Goddard from Fairfax, and then the principals from the middle school and the high school. And we felt like to start, at least to initiate the funding, if not perhaps long-term, but we're not in the long-term stages yet. It would be nice to get moving with the buy-in of our local towns and our school districts, which are really representative of our communities and work really closely with our kids.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Laura?
Okay. I have a question about how many children are affected by this collaborative. I know how many students are at Drake, but David, maybe you could tell us how many students will be benefit from this collaborative effort.
Well, in the Ross Valley School District, there's approximately 2,300 kids, and we are doing outreach from K all the way to 12. So every time we do any sort of parent education event or community ed night, our principals in all, Liz at Drake, myself at White Hill, and then the 4 elementary schools send out emails about the parent ed nights and the community ed nights. We also reach out to the local private schools and encourage those parents to come as well, because they're certainly part of our community and interacting with our families and kids. So I guess if you added the number of kids at Drake plus the 2,300 in the Ross Valley District plus the private schools as they're involved.
Thank you.
Bob?
Yeah, this is not a question so much as a comment. And please don't anyone take my comment as not being supportive of the initiative. I first of all would like to point out that it's not just youth, it's community. And in fact, much of the activity, as I understand it, is not aimed directly at the students, but at the community that supports the students. Having said that, I'm struck by the fact that here in Marin County we have the highest number of not-for-profit organizations of any county in the country. We have a tremendous focus on local control, witness our school boards, witness the autonomy of the various schools in our own district. And we have ever so many coalitions now rising up around this. I think an engaged citizenry is the first step toward changing any policy, but I also fear the balkanization of our efforts. And when I see more and more groups rising up and competing for a dwindling pile of money at the city and beginning to look for the same sources of funding, I see our initiative here in the district with the Wellness Center, which has many of the same aims, and I'm just what I'm fearful of is the tyranny of good intentions, pulling us in a million different directions and duplicated efforts. We see this on a county level. We were trying to plan a county speaker to speak to all the school boards, and we planned it in the same day. The County Office of Education had a different speaker scheduled, and we thought we had coordinated calendars. We see this just in things like calendars. So my I support the concept, I support the idea. I don't not support giving it seed money, but I really feel that we have to see some kind of a mandate for some kind of a collaboration among the collaboratives, or else we're going to be, I fear that we're going to be stumbling all over ourselves in terms of educating our populace, putting out different messages at different times, different speakers speaking on the same subject on different evenings. This is not a way to mobilize the greater community. And so I think this is a challenge that all the groups have. This is the first time we've had a chance to weigh in on it, because this is the first coalition that's come to us looking for funding. But I see parallels here also in terms of we always will err on the side of what's best for the kids and what we can do to protect them. We've had a similar health and safety issue around trainers and who funds athletic trainers that see the injuries. Mental health in general across the county is challenged because of what's come out of Sacramento. So my instinct is to be supportive of this, but to challenge this organization. The Ross Valley is brilliant at collaborating. I come from there. I mean, I've seen the collaborations go on there. I've seen how difficult they are too, but I've seen us do it. I've also seen our attempts to do this on a county level just become train wrecks. And that's my real concern here, is that so many good intentions create a train wreck in terms of public perception and public messaging.
Are there any more questions? We'll come back and have more discussion.
Yes. Somebody put a mic on that phone.
Liz, can you put that up? Yes.
Sort of going over the wellness for this. I don't want to jump one thing ahead of the other on the agenda, but that one handout we got for the wellness, if I can just bring it up here. Come on, there we go. For 43% of well, let's forget that part of it. 17% of ninth graders and 20% of 11th graders reported they seriously considered attempting suicide in the past 12 months. 26% of ninth graders, 34% of 11th graders report chronic sad or hopeless feelings. We've got a problem in our community, and one of the things I like about this collaboration, and I think I said it when the West Marin people were in last spring, is that it's the beginning of a recognition that this is a community problem. That we have advanced from the child being the problem, the child being the presenting problem within a family context, and now we're moving beyond that. And I think that obviously what we have done before has not been particularly successful. I don't see things being horribly different now than they were in the 70s when my kids were in school. So I really applaud this effort. I think what Bob said is true. There are risks in this of duplication of mixed messages. But for me, going forward with this is a no-brainer. And what they're asking for from the district, $37.50 for the rest of this year, $7,500 for next year is just chicken feed. So I absolutely don't have any problems with it. And I applaud the effort. I think the list of people that we got in the board packet, who've been involved in this effort, in and of itself, speaks to a high level of community involvement and a level that encompasses a much bigger picture than we have in the past. So that's my 10 cents worth, or 2 cents.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. Michael?
Yeah.
Get the mic back to you.
The comments are very good. First, I want to thank the three of you and for all the people involved for all the work and time and effort that you put on behalf of the community. That's very much appreciated. you know, I feel like, Bob, you were reading my notes a little bit ahead of time, although you articulated them better certainly than I could have. But the two questions that I had were, number one, how does this coordinate with the Wellness Center idea? And, you know, have there been any discussions? And I had that question at the Wellness Center present, you know, for the Wellness Center item, but you know, I think it's relevant to both, and so I'd like to hear about that. And the second thing I'd like to hear about is, I mean, I think anytime we have a new program for which we're allocating money, chicken feed or not, I'd like to know how we're going to measure effectiveness of this program. I mean, how are we going to know? I mean, and it's got to be something more than just we've had X number of community meetings. And I mean, I just, how are we going to know whether we're getting a return on our investment? Huh?
Couple quick things actually, and just to address, even though Bob wasn't a question, coming out of San Jose, which is such a large community, I never saw anything like this. And I landed here in Marin, and David, and I really do want to thank David for bringing forth this idea to do this in Ross Valley. And that was one of my first questions, because I was also invited very quickly to become a member of the West Marin Healthy Coalition, and I also have been asked to join the Twin Cities Coalition because my husband's involved down there. So I began looking at my calendar saying, oh my God, how many coalition meetings can Liz go to? I go to a lot, and Wes attends a lot of them with me, so Wes is my buddy in coalitions. But I'll tell you the difference, it's twofold. One, this is a NIMBY issue. People don't want to go to listen to what Larkspur is struggling with. They want to know what's happening at the Fairfax Halloween situation. And they want to know what difference can they make in Fairfax around Halloween. And we're providing that community outreach. What's been beautiful about it, though, is the people that I've had the opportunity to meet, and now I've gotten involved in West Marin, and we're learning from them, and they're learning from us. Linda Henn through Twin Cities has been fabulous as a resource for us and the ideas that she has, but yet there are things about Larkspur and Corte Madera that they struggle with that we're not finding to be true with our community. So it's an interesting study from someone who's a little bit on the outside still to how Marin does tackle problems. And I'm finding this bizarrely effective, even though I had that same like, oh my God, how many coalitions can we manage? However, we have started, not us, Linda Henn and the Twin Cities, and started a website, a Facebook site, the Coalition Connection. Oh yeah. And we are all using that as a resource to kind of build within our community what we need. How this connects to the wellness really is what's, and again, I really want to thank David on this. Initially, our first two meetings, we had a lot of parents come and say, well, what are the schools going to do? What are the schools going to do? What are the schools going to do? And we kept saying, we're doing a lot. We're always willing to do more. Give us ideas. That's great. But what's the community going to do? What's the community going to do? And I think what this provides is a place for the wellness centers on the campus to have an avenue by which we can reach out to the communities. And in our case, we have a night and we have 250 people show up. So I think, and I've already started working with Jessica about the potential of what this is going to mean in all 5 of the communities across Marin that are starting coalitions. So I know they've got one down in the valley, and I'm fortunate to have 2. So I think it just provides avenues, which right now our parent community are clamoring for. So that hopefully kind of addresses both of those concerns. David, you want to add anything?
No, I would just say, as far as I think the accountability piece and the so show us what happened because of this. I think ultimately where the rubber will hit the road is looking at the Healthy Kids surveys and seeing what our youth involvement is with alcohol and drugs, and also I think the question Paris that you answered about, will we focus on other things like suicide and eating disorders and others? We are game to look at all of it as we get up and moving. We've taken off a big chunk for this small group to start, but we are open to looking at all different aspects of our community health and wellness. Ultimately, I think from the Healthy Kids survey, we'll be able to see if we're making a difference, although I'll say that without making excuses, this work it's like turning a big ship, because we're not just trying to impact kids' decision making, we're doing a lot of work trying to impact adults' decision making and the decisions that are made in towns about the way alcohol is served and how much access there is to it at community events and parades and community celebrations. So there's so many areas in which we can look at this, but ultimately down the road, if we're making the difference we hope we will, we should be able to see that data change with regard to the Healthy Kids survey as one measure.
we also had, Wes was our conduit here, but the county did do a baseline survey of all of the schools for all the coalitions to kind of do some beginning data collection around these issues. And so we just completed that in the fall, and we're going to come back to that. I believe it's once a year is going to be the hope on that, to repeat that survey. So we'll have that data as well, which again is across the countywide. And it went out to all of our parents in both of our school communities.
Great. Are there any more questions before I go to the public for comments? Okay, is there anybody in the public who would like to comment about this agenda item?
Just have one quick question. A couple of months ago, we were sent a survey that we parents, I don't know who else, about our own alcohol use, and I seem to recall a Survey Monkey under your name, Michael. I've never heard what the information was being used for. I could be wrong about that, but it was a Survey Monkey, and I recall some of the questions were a little odd, like I never drink or I have 3 drinks a night.
That was that. I'm on the Mill Valley Coalition,
yeah.
And we're meeting. Is it tomorrow or Thursday?
Thursday.
And that was put out by the Mill Valley Coalition.
So you're just now evaluating it
to be a baseline.
Okay, and then how do parents in the various communities find out about this?
That's one of the things we're going to be talking about Thursday night, because we're just a fairly new organization like they are, and we are working with the county and have got some funding from them, the Mill Valley Coalition. I just happened to know a little bit about that. But yeah, there'll be more coming, and I think the PTSA is very involved at TAM, and so a lot of the information will start coming through that vehicle at the school. Any other comments from the public? Okay, then I'm going to bring it back up to the board. Are there any other comments about this item? Okay, I'm just going to give one thing. We put it as only a discussion item this evening because one of our discussions was we need time on a lot of these considerations to not have the discussion and the vote all at the same evening. Gives us some time to maybe go home, do some more research or ask some more questions as we get a little time to percolate. So that is why it is only a discussion. It will come back for a vote later. So I want to say that first. My biggest, I don't have any concerns that we have an issue. Absolutely no. That it as a community as well as a student. I absolutely hear everything you're saying and agree. My biggest concern is that right now we have all of these different coalitions. And I know, being on the Mill Valley one, that funding from the county ends very soon. And so one of the jobs of their coordinator is to look at where other funding can come from. And so I guess I look at multiplying what you're asking by, there's 3 that are currently going on. There's going to be another one probably. Yeah, there could be one in Tiburon. There could be one in Sausalito. There could be, who knows? And I think the question that I'm grappling with is very similar to what Bob's is. I agree that each coalition, the people like their neighborhood or area. I absolutely get that. I don't think a joint one. I think communicating and sharing, yes, but I think people want to. And the areas do have different issues. I've seen that firsthand. But my concern is, is this truly our role? Maybe a seed money. I'm going to have to do. I'm going to do some real thinking about this. Now that some of these questions have been answered, I just have to tell you, I was kind of taken back that you didn't at least apply to the county, even if they didn't encourage you. I don't know. I just have to. I guess I'm looking at quantities and trying to figure out balancing, and the wellness center is a big question, so I want to see how that all connects together. So that's just my comments at this point. Is there any other? Okay, well, thank you all for coming out tonight. We really appreciate it.
I just wanted to thank everyone who's worked on this collaborative to this point. It's so important in our community, and we got a lot of emails over the past several days from many people in your collaborative, and clearly people care about it a lot, and we read all those emails. I'm very excited about a sustainable solution. So we will all let this percolate and come back on February 10th, I think.
Yep. And thank you very much for coming and for your time and for the work you're doing on behalf of all of our kids. Okay, now I'm going to move on to item B, Wellness Center mid-year report. What?
Get the microphone correct. Thank you, and it's really nice actually to follow up the discussion on the community coalitions because I think it ties in nicely to the work that we'd like to do, bringing wellness to TUHSD, and specifically we're giving you a report out on bringing a wellness center to Redwood High School, and that's in our effort to kind of stay small and stay focused and do this at one site well, and with the hope of expanding as we gain more experience and navigate all the things that we need to navigate to make this come to fruition. So this is a follow-up conversation to the conversation that we started last March about bringing wellness and a wellness model to TUHSD, and to highlight some of the exciting work that we've been doing. Honestly, when Jessica and I started this presentation, it was probably about 4.5 hours long, and because there's been a lot going on, our work with the coalitions and also locally within the schools, but I think we've got it down to about 15 minutes or so. So we're going to move quickly, but of course we'll be available for questions afterwards. Overview, we're going to go over our goals for this year, the community needs assessment that is already underway, some of the needs and gaps in services that we've identified thus far through multiple measures, stakeholder interviews, surveys, etc., and then preview the proposed wellness model for TUHSD. Coming into the fall of this year, Jessica and I worked to develop a series of goals to focus on what would take us from the early planning stages through to implementation, and with the hope of opening the Wellness Center at Redwood in the fall of 2015. And so drawing upon Jessica's experience of 11 years as a coordinator in the San Francisco Unified School District, running the wellness program at Galileo High School, and the feedback we were receiving from stakeholders, we identified 5 main goals to work on. The key here is that these are not sequential in nature, but we've been working on all 5 of these throughout the fall. Community needs assessment, wellness education and outreach, wellness site integration, building relationships and partnerships with students, staffs, parents, and community partners, and designing the wellness center model for TUHSD overall and Redwood specifically. To help us try to stay focused and accomplish these goals, we wrote what is now a draft of a mission statement for wellness. And that's in order to improve the health, well-being, and educational outcomes of all students. The mission of the Tamalpais District High School District Wellness Program is to enhance the delivery of coordinated and comprehensive health, mental health, substance abuse, reproductive health, and other support services within the environment. And the keys there for us are coordinated and comprehensive. So I'm trying to, as Mr. Walter brought up, leverage the enormous number of community-based organizations within the community who really do want to help and assist our kids within our school environment, or by us referring out and making effective linkages with those organizations. But there's a lot of really untapped potential there. Additionally, go back one more, we've developed and now seeded a wellness advisory board, and we had over 50 applications for students, staff, parent, and community members who wanted to take seats on that. We'll also be looking for a board member to join that, and we'll have 2 meetings this year and 4 meetings per year after that. But using this mission statement, and if they would like to revise and refresh that, that would be great. But using this as kind of the jumping off point or the platform for the work that we're doing. So I'm going to turn it over to Jessica, and she's going to tell us about the community needs assessment.
So to give you an overview of the community needs assessment, we have both qualitative and quantitative data. The qualitative data came in 3 forms.
Jessica, I'm going to ask you just to turn the mic down just a little so we can hear you a little bit better. Thank you.
So it starts, and I'm continuing with key informant interviews. I've worked with a variety of student groups, as you can see, peer resource, social issues classes. I've done a student focus group, worked with principal student advisory council, getting to know the students and their needs. I've also worked with a lot of the staff at Redwood and starting to work with staff at other schools. I had 68 individual and small group meetings with staff at Redwood, and we also had an opportunity to present in front of the whole staff. In terms of parents, I'm also trying to get out the word to parents and get information to them and hear what they want to see in a wellness center. And you can see some of the different meetings and places that I was able to share about wellness. And finally, community partners. It's been an amazing experience to learn about all of the different community agencies that exist in this county. And I had over 83 community meetings and getting to know all of these agencies. Everyone is so excited about this innovative model coming to this district, and everyone wants to be a part of it as of here. And to get more details, there's actually in your packet, it goes over all of those different meetings and who those meetings were with. We also conducted a SWOT analysis, which is a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. We were chosen as one of 2 school districts by the California School-Based Health Center Alliance to conduct this analysis, and it was a pilot project for them, and that's also in your packet. And we also are working with UC Berkeley, which I'll get into in a minute, and have a comprehensive literature review, which is very interesting and tells us a lot about what other models are doing with similar counties and similar populations. In terms of quantitative data, we're going to get into the details later, but I've developed a partnership with UC Berkeley School of Social Welfare, and I'm working with 5 research students along with evaluation, training, and research, which is the organization that's been evaluating wellness in San Francisco for the past 14 years. And they're working with us to develop and administer a survey for students, staff, and parents, which we'll be putting out in January or early February. And also, we are looking at the California Healthy Kids survey data from 2013-2014. As I mentioned, can you hear me?
Can we ask
questions?
Could you go back to the prior slide just for a minute? So you're going to be developing what effectively is going to be baseline data, right? Very same kind of data that we were talking about with respect to the coalition.
Correct.
And they refer to the Healthy Kids survey. You would make this a bit. Will you be able to disaggregate the data for Drake?
We're developing survey questions that are going to work for all of the high schools, so that we're going to be able to use it for Drake and then for TAM and then for the alternative high schools as well.
The short answer is yes. We can disaggregate the data by school, but our goal with working with ETR and the master's students from Berkeley is to develop a survey that can be used within and amongst all of the schools.
And working with ETR is very exciting since they have this 14 years of experience in wellness, and what they didn't do is the baseline data. And so we're doing something that they haven't done in the past. So that's really exciting. I have to say it's been an amazing experience. I've had a wonderful 4 months. I have gotten 100% support. I can truly say 100% support from students, parents, and community members. I've been amazed and humbled getting to know this community and how excited they are and how behind they are, how behind this district they are around wellness.
So in speaking with all of the stakeholders, parents, staff, students, we've identified that these are the issues that our students are facing and want most help addressing. And we really do believe that wellness can help in this regard. This list isn't exhaustive, but you can see the issues identified must be addressed in order for our students to be successful in high school and beyond, both academically and socially. I think common sense would tell you that most of these things would be on the list, but we've confirmed it with all of these discussions that we've been having with people, as well as looking at the quantitative data that backs it up. Some examples of breaking that down a little further. and this is not exhaustive either, but staff needs, they identified how they identify and support students' behavioral health needs, the need for professional development, training, and consultation in dealing with these issues in the classroom and in the campus at large. Parent needs, adolescent development, understanding how your teen is growing and progressing, supporting and then supporting navigating behavioral health systems, which is an issue that is very difficult to tackle, but we would help with the Wellness Center. And then community needs, I think as we referred to earlier, the community-based organizations don't feel they have access to get into schools to support students, and students rarely access off-campus community support services. So it's bringing people in and helping our students reach out and get the help they need.
So overall in these meetings, we found that there's 3 main areas that wellness can help support schools in, and those were prevention, coordination, and community partnerships. And I'm going to go into detail about each of those now. So in terms of identified needs and gaps in services, specifically around prevention and education, outreach and services, we found that there's health, wellness, and social and emotional curriculum for the 9th grade social issues classes, and that's it. So students are receiving that information in 9th grade, but are not receiving information after that time. There's not a lot of school-wide prevention programming regarding health, mental health, substance abuse, and reproductive health. We are working to help coordinate some of the student leadership groups and clubs who are working on some of these things, but may not be working together. So that's a need, bringing those groups together.
I think that's, on the campus level, that's an issue that is very similar to what Mr. Walter was talking about. Peer resources doing an activity one week, and on the same day, Friday Night Live is also doing an activity. And so it's getting all of that good work and coordinating it so that we can get the most out of the student input, the student work that's being done, and our staff who are helping coordinate that with the students.
We would like to look into comprehensive nutrition education programming, and we saw that as a need. School climate and community building, specifically around bullying prevention and cyber safety. And just parent and staff awareness, education, and being able to consult with them and support them. The next area around identified needs and gaps in support services is the comprehensive and coordinated health and behavioral health services. We hope to coordinate existing support services. There's actually many wonderful services already on campus, so we want to come together, add more, and coordinate them. We want to offer a central place for students to come and get support. We want to help students and families and teachers and counselors help them navigate and access behavioral health services, which can be a daunting task. We are looking to bring reproductive health education and service promotion to the schools. It's an area where we definitely have a need, is what I'm hearing from the students. Nursing and health promotion, assessments and services for nurses. And of course, alcohol and drug abuse prevention, education and counseling services. And then in terms of the community partnerships and referral piece and what those identified needs and gaps are, alcohol and drug counseling and education and intervention, public health nursing, reproductive health education and services, bringing their community expertise on campus. There are so many nonprofits and so many wonderful things happening in our community, and they want to be in the schools, so bringing that expertise to the schools. And learning about what community resources are out there and being able to share that with our staff and our counselors and our students and families. Bringing community partners and their services on campus and coordinating that, and making effective referrals to community agencies and services off campus.
So now, moving from the qualitative to the quantitative data findings, we found that our partnership with the UC Berkeley students has been very rich and very great. They've brought a whole new perspective to what we're doing, including a very comprehensive literature review that we'll be able to share with you in a little while. And then working with ETR to develop the student, staff, and parent surveys. Because we recognize the need that we can't talk to thousands of individual stakeholders, but that we can gather a lot of that data through survey tools and finding representative samples of students, parents, and other stakeholders. Timeline, survey administration, data analysis, and discussion of results. will take place from January through April. We hope to present the bulk of that to you in March. That's our goal. And then looking again at the California Healthy Kids Survey findings. Mr. Ford brought up this. I think this is what he was holding up. And so this is really just a very brief snapshot of some of the findings from the Healthy Kids Survey. But when we look at ninth grade or at 11th graders, over 75% have used alcohol one or more times, 60% for marijuana. And then when we move into looking at mental health issues, fully a third of our 11th graders and a quarter of our 9th graders reported chronic, sad, or hopeless feelings within the past 12 months. And most alarming, I think, is that 20% of 11th graders and 17% of our 9th graders reported seriously considering attempting suicide in the past 12 months. And juxtaposing that with the final stat there, which is that over 50% of our students say that they don't know if help is available or think help is not likely available at the schools, and that's really the void that we're seeking to fill. With outreach, with a place, safe place to go for them, and providing those services for both drug and alcohol use and also mental health issues. So now we come back to the mission to kind of use it as a platform to build a wellness program specific to the needs of the community. I won't read it over again, but that's kind of what we're grounding this work in.
So this is an impossible slide to read, so I'll try to describe it. So as you can see, the way that wellness is going to work is actually parallel the response to intervention model, where we reach the different tiers of students. We believe that we can reach all students by providing health education in classrooms outside of just the 9th grade, offering school-wide health awareness events, a safe and welcoming space for students. We're actually developing an interactive wellness website right now. In terms of groups, we hope to have support and empowerment groups, leadership groups. We hope to connect with peer resource and have them be the peer voice of wellness. And in terms of one-to-one, we have the mental health and substance use counseling, crisis intervention, case management, health services, reproductive health information, and much more. Wellness also is a way to connect students to a network of support, both on-site and off-site. We already have counselors and school psychologists who are doing a fantastic job meeting the social and emotional needs of our students. But we want to bring more services and more diverse services onto campus. So we believe that on-site we can provide these services, we can bring community partners on campus, clinics and local universities who will provide interns for us. And then off-site we want to connect students to community referrals and help them navigate getting services and support. So our goal is to create a system for school support, and as we've been doing this work, we've kind of created these 8 themes, which are prevention, and we hope that wellness will address each of these, offering prevention, education, early intervention, coordination, consultation and training, youth development, community partnerships, and crisis intervention. And so this is all a proposed model. We still don't have all of the data to make a final model. But in terms of a proposed model, this is the staffing that we would like to look at, including a wellness coordinator, a wellness outreach worker, the wellness counselors, which is an existing contract that we already have with BACR, wellness nursing, bringing wellness community partners on campus. We already have a variety of community partners who want to come on campus and are ready to come on campus to work with our students. I've developed relationships with 4 universities to bring wellness interns onto our campuses starting next year. And we definitely want to have a youth voice in wellness. And we're hoping to integrate with the peer resource program to provide that. And even though the school counselors and school psychologists are not necessarily on the wellness center team, they're a critical and integral part of our programming. And we're going to be communicating with them. I've been working with them and meeting with them to figure out how the model can work so that we can serve students.
So to kind of bring our presentation to a close, just going forward this semester, we've developed what we kind of call our roadmap for bringing this work together to create a fully functioning wellness center next fall. And to accomplish this, we're going to be working with UC Berkeley and ETR to administer the surveys and analyze results of that survey. We've convened the Wellness Advisory Board that I already mentioned. We're going to identify and work towards developing a space for wellness at Redwood High School. We'll be submitting a funding request through the staffing plan in March. And then ongoing program development. We continue to work on policies and procedures, including the legal aspects of providing services to students on campus or referring them off, hiring, formalizing community partnerships, and we have some exciting community organizations that have promised support, and working on a communications plan so that we do get the word out and the students are able to access and use the services that we provide. Yeah, absolutely.
Great, thank you very, very much. So I'm going to go back to the same process that we had before. Are there any additional questions at this time from the trustees? And then I'll ask for comment. None? Okay, are there any comments from the public about the Wellness Center and this particular agenda item? Okay, then I'm going to come back up. Actually, I did have, I think you kind of answered it. So when you've been in all of the literature that we got, these outreach workers, these are what you're talking about that you see. When it refers to outreach workers, that means those are.
Yes. The outreach worker, we don't know yet
Oh,
who
okay.
it will be.
Okay.
The role.
So there's two different outreach workers you might have seen on the staffing plan.
That's right, I got a little confused.
So the wellness outreach worker is kind of the person who's not behind a closed door, who welcomes all students into wellness, helps triage them, helps with the youth development aspects of the program, brings information, materials, keeps the website up to date, and is really on the ground with the students. And the Wellness Youth Outreach Workers is actually a model that came from San Francisco where they paid students to become the youth voice of wellness, whereas here we're hoping to come together with peer resource and not pay students, but actually work with them in a classroom setting.
And then are you going to at some point evaluate the current things that we do, and namely Teen Screen is one that I've always questioned. To be really honest, I've done it when they've been here. I've done it also, so I've really questioned what we're getting from them. So we'll be evaluating that and the BARC and
the Redwood administration has been really supportive and has brought me in to help with Teen Screen, which is happening this week. And I also went to TAM to look at Teen Screen, and so I'm getting a good sense of what it is and if we want to continue with it. And we're looking at our contract with BACR. We're also looking at the SOS program. So we're taking a look at everything.
Yeah. That's what I was hoping.
Really the key up until this point is there's been no one central person or location to coordinate those efforts.
Okay.
And so a lot of good work gets done, but it's not coordinated. And so that's what we're seeking to enhance.
Jessica?
This is kind of a comment. I just want to say, I really like this presentation and this whole idea, because I think there's a huge stigma around, going to counselors and really getting help. And I feel like a lot of times people are afraid to go because they think that they're going to have to go regularly, or their parents are going to get contacted, or administration's going to get involved, when they really just need someone to talk to. And so I think like the most important thing for this wellness center is just to really take the stigma out of it and just have a place where people can just go and get help. And even if it's only a one-time thing, I really like it, and it makes me feel like, as a Redwood student, I can feel like safe in my community and be able to talk to someone. I thought it was really great.
That's a wonderful comment. I mean, I almost feel like I need to say we didn't pay her to say that. Because that really is the motivation behind wellness, is to have a space that you can walk into because maybe you're seeing the nurse for a Band-Aid or a headache, or you just want to hang out with some friends. But while you're in there, you can also engage in some of the services that are provided. So really doing our best to take the stigma out of receiving any sort of those services. So thank you.
So is there any other comments from the board?
You've been busy. Really impressive work that you've done. Really needed, and it's great to see. Thank you for all your efforts.
Yeah, I will mirror that. all of the documentation that came with this absolutely blew me away. You've been so busy. Last year when we had the presentation and we decided to have you take the year to really think about, talk to everybody and come with a solid plan. You know, you always, as a board member, I was going, oh, you know, is this really, how really valid is this going to be and how rigorous is it going to be? And I am absolutely blown away. You, Jessica, you have, and Wes, the two of you obviously work really well together, but this is amazing what you've accomplished in this amount of time. I'm very, very impressed, and I'm very excited about the next step and moving it, starting it in Redwood, but also taking a look at the other campuses. I'm thrilled that you're already looking at the other campuses because I think this is really a great program. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all the work. Okay, our next item is WASC for Drake and for Redwood. Kim, are you starting? Thank you very much.
Okay, so this is the next in a series of updates and communication and involvement with the board and the community around the WASC process. Just as in previous presentations, here's an updated communication plan. Today we are here to provide site updates specifically from two of our schools. We have Liz and Seabury and David Sondheim here to talk specifically with you about what is going on at their sites. Up to this point, my reports have been more broad and systems-based, so it's time in our process to get more local and see what's been going on in each of the schools. So specifically, we're going to be looking at strengths since the last WASC visit, which was in 2007. We're going to look at the action plans that were that evolved out of the last WASC process from 2007. We're going to talk with the sites around identified growth areas and action steps that they've taken since that time that leads us to today, and I'll provide some updates around where we are currently in our process. Looking forward, at the next board meeting, you'll receive your data snapshot 3. I'm going to be gone, so Tara and Michael are going to take over that component, which is perfect because it's their purview, so they're going to be speaking with you around teachers, specifically hiring, developing, retaining, and engaging teachers. And then you'll also get the final 2 site reports on the February board date. So you'll hear from Julie and from Corbett on that day about TAM and ALTED. In March, you'll receive another additional data snapshot. That's going to be Wes covering that information from a student services perspective around trends that we're seeing. Up to this point, we've been talking about student achievement, and Wes is going to come speak to you around the trends regarding attendance, discipline, and suspensions, and specific successes, growth areas, and action steps in those particular areas. Just added on some dates around our visits. So we do have specific dates set for that. We're working out specific schedules, but the Drake and Tam are going to have their visits first, and then Redwood and the alternative schools, and we're able to combine the alternative school visit into one comprehensive visit, which is positive. So stay tuned for more specifics around the WASC visits from the visiting committees. And then just be prepared that this is the first component of a site response to you. The sites are here to tell you about where they are currently in the process, and we are not done. So in May, they're going to come back to you and talk to you again about a summary of the progress and specifically lay out where are we now and what are our goals and action steps moving forward. From here, today's presentation is more about where have we come since the last visit in 2007.
Just a reminder about the process is that the WASP process is a focus on learning process, so it's all about what are we doing as a system to constantly focus on what's going well and where are our areas of growth, and then working together to figure out action plans and action steps so that we can continually grow and improve. This is a 6-year cycle for us. We all received 6-year accreditations the last time they came. And right now we're in this sort of follow-up stage where we have been implementing the action plans from the last visit. And right now we are going into a self-study mode where we're looking at how well did we do, what are our current strengths, as you know, what do we still have to grow on. We write that into a report, and then the WASP team comes, they visit, they engage with us in various conversations and observations and looking at documentation from teachers. They look at the action plans that we have created, and then they make recommendations moving forward, and they give us a certain accreditation, or they don't, based on what they see and what they hear when they're here. Just to get an overview, reminder about the actual reports. So what comes out of this will be 4 individual reports, one for Tam, Drake, Redwood, and then a combination report for alternative schools that will address what's going on both at Tamascale and at San Andreas. The reports are 5 chapters in length. The first chapter is in general just student and community profile, specific data. As you've seen, I've been giving you snapshot data about that and findings and trends. The chapter 2 of the reports is a progress report. Where were we in 2007? Where are we now? You know, what have we done with the action plans that we wrote out of that process from 2007? Where have we made gains? Where do we still need to grow? The chapter 3 is sort of a reflection of chapter 1. So chapter 1 sort of describes the data and the trends that we're seeing. And chapter 3 talks about the implications of it, more of an analysis to maybe why are these things going on in our schools. And then there's an identification of areas of focus moving forward. So given the information that we have, what do we still see as critical areas of focus for our action plans moving forward in this ongoing improvement process? Chapter 4, so that's sort of, we've completed initial drafts of chapters 1 through 3, and those have been vetted through all of the teachers at all of the schools for input and feedback. And we're currently drafting the first draft of chapter 4, and that's been through district and site administration as well as teacher leaders, and some teachers have been involved in the drafting of that chapter 4 also. So we're in that first draft of chapter 4, and we are beginning to start thinking about our action plans. That's where I would say we're about halfway through the chapter 4, so about 2/3 of the way done with this process right now. And this is still all a work in progress and still all a draft. Again, just a bit more information about the visits. They're 3.5 days long. We'll have a committee, a team of 7 for Redwood because they're larger, a team of 4 for the alt schools because they are smaller. They will come in, they will be meeting daily with school leaders. They will be going around to classrooms and doing campus observations. They will have informal observations, interviews with students, teachers, classified parents, and they will be looking at our self-study. So we completed our self-study last semester with all of our teachers documenting their work in professional learning communities. They will review that. They will meet with every single certificated teacher. They will meet with representative students, representative parents, representative classified, and representatives of the board. So I will keep you posted on that part. And then in addition, there'll be meetings with district office administration. As you know, what comes out of this is an accreditation. So I just wanted to say these are the possibilities of where we could land at the end of this process. The ideal is that we end up with a 6-year accreditation status, and the best one is a progress report at mid-cycle. Each one of our schools will receive an individual accreditation, so TAM may or may not receive the same as Redwood, because again, there's going to be separate, different reports, and they will not receive the same accreditation status. We're not at the point that they're open to giving a unified accreditation, so that will be individual to the schools. They could also give us a progress report, and they say they want to come back in 3 years and do a 1-day visit. They can come back and do a 2-day visit. They can put us on probation, et cetera, et cetera. But just again, note that we must be accredited for the University of California to continue to grant A&G status for our courses. So accreditation for our schools is very important. Again, I've talked about this before, just a reminder, yes, we are doing things differently. And it is a new process that we are developing as we go. We're the first district in over 25 years to do a district accreditation process. We have, again, received coaching along the way and support from WASC, and they're very happy with our work, and they said that districts are lining up to use our work as a model, so that's exciting. So how are things different? We can spend a lot of time talking about that, but specifically what's going on with us, as you know, is that we've been able to really anchor our work in a common mission and common strategic priorities, which is the work that we're doing. And we're able to use that as a guide, as our focus for continuous improvement. When you go through the reports, yes, you'll absolutely see district responses, and those will be the same in all of the reports. And then you will see very unique and specific site responses. The site responses are, again, the responsibility of site teams, so input from students, parents, classified teachers, teacher leaders, administrators, etc. And so you'll see sort of a pairing of these two. The district responses will be sort of what's going on across the system, and the site focusing on what's unique to that specific school. And then we have the alignment of our visit. So at the end of it, we'll also be able to have a chair that's assigned to the entire district. So that person will also be able to see a continuous umbrella across what's going on at our system. Reminder that everything that we're doing with continuous improvement is, again, anchored in our mission, as you know. And the red highlighted components are what WASP is looking for in terms of our focus, which is not only on core competencies, but also on our 21st century skills. They're using that as a lens as well. And that the two strategic priorities we're focusing on as a system right now are the use of professional learning communities to look at and respond to student performance data, teacher collaboration, and then again the implementation of our support plans. And in conversations right now with WASC with our Chapter 5 action plans to see how we can really align our intervention plans with the WASC action plans so we end up with a meaningful and useful plan for each of our schools. So for the presentation today, again, these are sort of the questions that were posed to the site principals that I asked them to come talk to you about tonight, which is what did the WASC team from 2007 identify as key strengths? So we're going to take a little trip down memory lane with the past. What did they identify as key growths areas in 2007? Each site at that point in time developed action plans in 2007. So what steps did each site take to accomplish their goals that were identified in 2007? And then in addition, based on their self-studying where they are now, what is each site identifying as current growth areas? That will be a launching off point for developing our action plans as we move forward. Each of them are going to speak to you about how they are choosing to engage stakeholders in the process and then talk about next steps. With that, I will turn it over to David.
Good evening. So again, we're now looking back. So we're at 2006 and 2007, and these are a list of strengths that our visitation that occurred back in 2007 identified as strengths for Redwood. You can see them there. Students are given a wide variety of elective courses. Students have access to academic assistance, the peer tutoring, staff office hours, and counseling services. Programs are adapted and revised based on performance data. There's collaboration within and across departments. The school shows an ongoing commitment to developing a 3-year planning cycle in areas of need based on assessment data and the continual monitoring of the feedback cycle. Lastly, a long tradition of strong parental support has been established through various parent volunteer groups. So these are identified by the Redwood staff as well as the WASC Visiting Committee back in 2006 and 2007 as strengths. Recommendations that came out of the visit and the self-study that occurred in 2006-2007 centered on 3 areas. One around differentiated instruction, developing strategies to quickly assess student understanding and tailor approaches to enhance student learning. Improve the ability of students to read analytically. And the third one, to ensure proper alignment between state standards and student learning. So again, this was from 2006, 2007. Since then, I'm going to take us through each of those three and give you some sample of some of the things. We'd go on forever if I went on and talked about everything. In terms of developing strategies to quickly assess student understanding, tailor approaches, differentiate instruction, the establishment of professional learning communities where teachers are working together. They are sharing the student learning data that they collect. They are sharing their instructional practices that are successful. They're sharing challenges that they have and looking for ways that they can both improve their instruction as well as improve their student support, as you know by now. Professional development. We've had a number of people come in and talk with us, as well as readings, etc. Jay McTighe, Mike Matos, Dan Meyer, Tim Knoll, ITTC, all of which have helped us, again, work on differentiated instruction. And lastly, our support plan that you have seen previously as well. Creating and implementing that support plan, going from all the way to the individual, has helped us as well. I would say with differentiated instruction, it's an area that we have partially met that goal. I think we still have work to do. I think we do better than we did back in 2006, 2007. The work is not yet done. It's an ongoing process. I think it's part of continual improvement. In terms of reading analytically, our staff, particularly in the years that followed, did a number of different things. Customizing texts. In integrated science, that you may know, we ordered texts that were customized for the program. That also allowed for good analytical reading opportunities. In math, essays and media selections were used more than they had been in the past. And in PE, fitness texts, and having students do a bit more reading than you might otherwise think had happened in the past in PE, or some examples. In addition, there was staff development around teaching reading strategies, analysis of key passages, increased text, highlighting, commenting, to help students improve their analytical reading in particular. And ensuring proper alignment between state standards and student learning. This really, the work we have done with our guaranteed viable curriculum and our program goals has really gone a long way. If you go back to what our courses of study looked like back before we were doing this work, they looked like a set of objectives. And what they now look like, and are looking more and more like, are a set of program goals. They are aligned with a common core. Science is in the process of aligning them with the next generation science standards. These include, as you've seen, proficiency criteria, proficiency scales, and assessments, sample assessments determined by the staff to align to the program goals and proficiency scales. The teachers have developed those program goals from the standards that they're using. And what this has done, and I think it is huge in terms of its impact of aligning the standards and student learning, is when you're a new teacher coming in, for instance, you now have more than just a set of objectives, which is what, as a longtime mentor, we had to give new teachers. And now they see a much more complete set of materials that they can use and that help guide them. It also gives us that continuity we've talked about before between teachers as we go from course to course. Professional learning communities, again, allowing our staff to share the student learning data, identify success, instructional success, identify challenges, identify where they can improve their instruction and where they can improve the support strategies that they're using. What's working in some places, what's working in others, how do we share those successes, how do we improve what we do continually. So those are actually some sample action steps that we've taken since 2006, 2007. In the fall, our whole staff, and we did this kind of in stages, our administration has looked at, our teacher leaders have looked at, our whole staff has looked at student learning data, district-wide and school-wide. And from that data, we identified three major areas that we call critical learner needs. It is worth noting that those same needs were identified by administration, teacher leaders, and staff, doing it somewhat successive periods, but not necessarily saying, oh, this is what we decided, how does it look? Independently looking at that data, what came out. In the last iteration of that process, our staff looked in small groups at the same set of data turned into us what they saw as critical needs from that data, and it was fascinating to us to see the consistency. And they really centered around 3 things: providing all students the opportunity and access to grade level instruction, core competencies, higher level course offerings, AP and honors, and college and career options in the 21st century. Reducing the gap, and what it's worth saying here is that we see that while we have lots of options, not all students are getting to take advantage of those options, and we need to make those available. In the second, reduce the gap in performance between economically disadvantaged students, students of color, and the general population. As you know, this is nothing new, this is nothing unique to us, but it clearly shows up in our data, and it's something we still have work to do. And lastly, increasing student achievement in mathematics. Our students can do even better in mathematics than they're doing currently, and we believe that we can get there. Engagement of staff and stakeholders. We, again, as I described a moment ago, we took our whole staff through looking at the school-wide data in the fall, identifying those critical learning needs. Administrators and teachers have done, when Kim was talking about the different chapters and different parts of the report, one of the interesting things, I was the WASC coordinator at Drake back in 2006-07. One of the pieces of feedback we got there as we did a process was we had, at that point we had everybody writing, for instance, the chapter 4 piece. And one of the things that we heard strongly was, can we make this more efficient? We want impact, we want to be able to read, we want to be able to give feedback, we want that feedback incorporated, but having these large groups of people write things, as you know, if you've written things, is not always the most efficient. And so what we did was administration and teacher leaders together, sorry, let me go back one sec. Chapters 1, 2, and 3 were done. Each piece is, as Kim described, as a district response. The site response was written by administrators. Chapter 4, our self-study piece, a draft has been created by administrators working with teacher leaders in groups. And then all of that has been, we just on January 6th at our staff development day reviewed that work. The staff reviewed, gave feedback on each of those areas. We will then take that feedback, as you'll see in next steps, make changes, send it back out for some more feedback to hone it a little bit further. We also have asked for ideas of action plan items that will feed into Chapter 5. Those ideas will then feed into our action plan, which we'll develop, again, bring it back for feedback, to get feedback from our staff as well. We are in the process of, just as we're doing with the staff, with our parents, with our students, getting that same kind of feedback. I have a student advisory committee meeting tomorrow, a parent advisory committee meeting next week, our foundation, our PTSA, all of whom will be looking at the same things and giving us feedback and giving us input as to what our action plan should look like ultimately, which is the other giant goal of WASC, is what is it we want to do over the next set of years. Next step, I've kind of covered a minute as I go through. Finalize the self-study, create an action plan for the next 5 to 6 years, review and revise the action plan with staff and stakeholder feedback, as in April that Kim described, celebrate our accomplishments, and continue, which the best part of being able to report what we do at WASC, which again is being able to describe the work we've done, being able to describe our efforts and improvement, get feedback on that, and continue to do that work. So we're looking forward to it, and we're gratified with the work we've done so far. And now I'm going to turn over to Liz, right? And Liz is going to tell you about Drake.
Excellent. So I graduated from the teacher ed program in December and received my first job at Monte Vista High School in February because they had a WASC coming up. And they had an opening and they wanted somebody to fill that opening. So I owe a lot to WASC. And every school I've moved to, both in my teaching career and my administrative career, I have managed to land on WASC. So I have a really deep personal relationship with WASC. I've also served on several visiting committees, and I know and love them well. So when I landed at Drake, I did the math and went 2000. Okay, WASC. And so one of the very first things that I started looking into was our mission and vision statement that Drake had. We have the District 1, which is very prominent. However, I kept seeing this owl on the wall that Mr. Sondheim, I understand, was involved in. And I asked several teachers, I said, so talk to me about the owl vision thingy. And they said, yeah, that kind of sits at the wall and stares at me. And so to me, knowing, because I did the math, that WASP would land at Drake, because of course I'm there, it has to land. One of the very first things I kind of started talking about with the staff is, what are we doing here? We know we teach, but what's our purpose? What is our mission and vision that would kind of augment and work well with what we're seeing designed with the district in mind? So we put together a purpose statement, and that was in my first year there. It aligned really well with the work of Mike Matos. Mike said, you really need to come to that heart place of, why are you doing this? And it's that all students can learn and learn at high levels, and we need to really wrap our arms around that at Drake. So we started kind of in this place, and a lot of our work preparing for WASC over this last year has come back to this often. So I wanted to make sure that that was in there as a starting place, because it's really grounded us as a community into when people get a little grumbly or frustrated or wonder what we're doing, we come back to that and say, this is what we do. Interesting, I've had a few people say, well, but where does it say teaching in there? It's like, well, we teach. It's kind of like, you know, if we worked at a computer store, we sell computers. But why are we doing it? So this grounding has really been helpful as we've jumped into a very similar report you just heard from the man who owned the owl, Mr. David Sondheim. The strengths they found in 2006 and 7, I think they're going to find when they come in April. We're very fortunate. They're coming for a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday visit, which if you know much about WASP, which again I do, they usually come for a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday visit. So it's going to be neat to see them coming toward the second half of the week, which for Drake is going to be predominantly a block time, which is I think a little more rich for us, and it lands right in the middle of Earth Day, which you already got a sense of how important Earth Day is at Drake. So WASP is going to take a very sincere hold, and I think you kind of see that just if you look at our strengths, that we definitely have things about Drake that we have managed to bring forward up now into 2015-16. The ones that really talk to me really quickly here, which God, it feels so nice to be able to say this, that we are a very project-based community, and we are continuing that and building it forward, and our work in WASP around our assessments and the variety of assessments and the way that we provide opportunities for students to demonstrate what they know. It's so nice to know that it happened here. You can actually look older back into Drake. It goes back and back and back. So really a lot of the stuff we're bringing forward and working a lot on the last one, which I just want to mention too, I didn't mention earlier, but Julie, who is here tonight, is actually helping me build our first ever in many, many years, a Drake parent crew. So we are going to be bringing forward, similar to a PTSA or a parent club, we have to do our Drake style. So we're building our, we haven't seen it in years and years and years, of getting our parents together, and that's been a result of some of the work. So back in 2006-7, they said, I love the first one, I call it the kitchen sink goal. We need to revise curriculum, instruction, assessment to better meet the needs of all these kids who aren't engaged. So we're just going to fix everything to make sure that our kids who don't like school will hopefully fall in love with it. And that's been entertaining to work with the staff, because they recognize now that that kind of a goal is like, wow, that's a big one. What's nice is as it gets broken down to the two that David laid out for you, the equity and access and the performance gap, a lot of the work we've been doing since 06, 07, we're going to be able to apply. Look at that, there's math proficiency. So that is one that kind of rang true to Drake when we re-examined the data, but we still have work to do. And back then they wanted us to look at reading, writing, and public speaking literacy. Most of that had to do with the writing portfolio. So that's going to be kind of neat for us to re-examine what pieces of that we'd like to carry forward. And then, of course, emotional, social, and health support structures for Drake students. So we've been working a lot on that, and we're going to continue, yay, the Wellness Center, building on that at Drake. So for each one of those goals, we wrote an action plan with 87 million steps. And so as David said, this really could be a very long presentation, but in a nutshell, for the huge goal, the big things was really providing access to our families so they could begin to learn about how well their kids are doing in school. So that's been interestingly, coming in again, I'm still kind of new, that has been one of the biggest pushes, is how do we provide communication to our parents about student performance. And so one of the biggest things we did is now we are making sure that every single one of our students sign up online at our registration night, so they all have access to home access. And then again, we have a couple other things that teachers use, as well as the bringing in of ECHO through our new tech program has made a huge difference in communication because of the breadth of what ECHO can communicate and the agreement of the teachers who use that. So that's something they recommended and we have definitely jumped into. They said that all of our 9th and 10th students should be enrolled in a small learning community blend, which is where 9th and 10th graders sit together. This next year, we will actually achieve that, and all of our students will be in a 9-10 blend. So that's exciting. Same as David, a lot of work around professional development, differentiated instruction, and then a big thing that came out of our work at Drake around curriculum instruction and assessment was to re-examine some of our old work that we had around like habits of mind, these 21st century skills and that kind of stuff. And we actually just finished that work last May, and then we re-examined it last Tuesday about our set of learning principles, which we have 6 learning principles, which are kind of our approach to 21st century skills on developing children in every way, not just subject matter. So those have kind of been the big 4 steps, but like I said, there's seriously we're about 29 steps to this goal, which there should be with a goal that big. Improve math proficiency. So this is one, again, we are recognizing that we're going to continue working on. So it's going to be really interesting. Tomorrow, actually, I'm pulling the staff together, and we're going to start writing Chapter 5. I'm sitting with the math team, and we're going to see what we've done since 06-07 that we think we should continue forward. One of the biggest things was align the program goals to the Common Core and state standards. So they were teaching a lot of stuff that wasn't in the standards. And so the recognition of really what do we need to teach and how do we have kids be successful in that has been a big push since 06-07. There's been a lot of talk about how can we use resources outside the classroom to improve what's going on in the classroom. And we've had a few of our teachers through ITTC and through New Tech really get heavily involved in problem-based learning in the math classroom. And the Drake teachers really responded positively to Dan Mayer, and there's been a lot of that kind of approaches going on. We tried to include math in our small learning communities last year, and there wasn't a lot of strong support from the math department, and so this year math has been dropped from our small learning communities. One of the big things they wanted in 2006-07 was to run math AW classes, so academic workshop classes sitting next to math classes, and we did it for 2 years. My first year here, they had this random AW, and I made it specific around math. We looked at our success of students who were enrolled in this class, and we had almost no students actually be successful in their math class. So we actually decided for now, the math department wanted to discontinue the use of academic workshops specifically for math and reinvestigate that and do some better understanding on how to use, that is a very intensive thing to have a student take 2 math classes. So if we're going to do it, we want to do it right, and if we're not getting the results, why do it? So we took that FTE, and for this year, we have a little bit smaller Algebra 1-2 class size. So it's about 27. They were up around 30, 31. So it was a good choice on that for this 1 year. And then, of course, our professional learning communities and our site intervention plan is very heavily math-focused. Math. And like I talked about, reading, writing, and public speaking was really a lot of it, a whole lot of it was around the writing, right on my head. Portfolio. But some of the things we're working on, again, it's a PLC work, really working on intervention plans, really working on. One thing we wrote in our Title I plan last year, we no longer have Title I plans, but something that's coming back because we really want to take a look at, and Wes is being great on helping us. We're looking at some diagnostic testing, so we really understand reading and where kids are at when they come to us. And then we have had a lot of interest in looking at reading strategies for all teachers and having them do some work. And that was really some of the things I'm seeing at Drake is a lack of development of academic vocabulary and really building vocabulary in all of our classrooms for students to be successful, and that's a big part of our intervention plan. So those are kind of the big things we're hitting on as far as reading, writing, and public speaking, and then finally making all of our students socially, emotionally, and healthy people. Interestingly, from 2006-07, the action plan was really all about getting student government up and running. It's one of those things you have to look at, like, here's the goal, and then here are the action steps they wrote. I would say of all of our 4 goals, this one they've hit really, really well. So we've done a lot of stuff to really, and the big thing was really transitioning students from the 8th grade to the 9th grade. So we've rethought our day 1, we put in place a really strong link leader program, and then they wanted a lot more student recognition by students, from the students for the students. So all of our rallies have student and teacher recognition built into them. So that's some of the action steps we've done. as David already pointed out, the first 3 stars are the critical learning needs that all 4 schools identified, 5 schools, this keeps going, a little bit will be 6 schools, have identified as things that we'd all like to work on. So independently, the schools identified those. And then Drake dug a little deeper, and we really are interested in taking a look at what practices do we have or don't have that we could develop as a school that would allow our students to understand and develop their own sense of agency better. So it was really nice the way that one came around. There's an interest in wondering how well are our students prepared for post-high school success, and what are we doing to make that be more successful, and this big focus around what does it mean for a student to be kind of an agent of their own learning, and not saying, kids, we want you to go be a great agent of their own learning, but what are we doing within our practices? And you can guess one of the biggest practices that have kind of bubbled up over the last week around this, because we really jumped into this hard on Tuesday and tomorrow, is grading. So I'm proud of my staff right now for saying we really want to take a look at our grading practices and how are they allowing students to be better agents of their own learning. And then, I just put the intervention plan down there because we are working hard on that thing, and it will always be a part of our goals at Drake. Oh my gosh, we've done a ton with the staff. So you can kind of take a look at that. It's been very, 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 very busy. We've done a lot of our staff meetings have been set aside at looking at our data, looking at our PLC work, studying all of that. Big day on Tuesday, exactly what they did at Redwood. We did with chapters 1, 2, and 3, beginning to write 5, and we did a lot of time writing 4 as well. And tomorrow we're going to get deep into writing the action plan. And then we've done 2 student advisory sessions on feedback on strengths and improvements so far. We're going to do a student senate in 2 weeks on it. I've been working with my site council, my DLC, since last year on getting stuff ready. They've already reviewed chapter 1 of WASP, and we're doing 2 and 3 in 2 weeks. And then Thursday night is our Drake Talk on the WASP, which I believe Michael is going to come and be a pirate. And we're also doing a morning after coffee, because if you just can't do enough on a Friday night or Thursday night, come back for Friday more. We're going to do some coffee. And then we're going to go again, take that back to the DLC as well, and allow them to kind of reflect on what the parents reflected on. So that's what we're doing. And then I didn't mean to one-up you with lots of pictures, David, but I'm glad we had the same idea of the pictures. So lots of fun pictures of pirates being happy. So those are our next steps. We are just busy. We're really building in our PLC rounds for this semester. We're doing a lot with our learning outcomes, our learning principles, which one is agency and is, so we're really having our staff really focus in on that and then prepare that to be something when they meet with the WASP visiting team in April, they can kind of share out some real current work that we're working on with our 21st century skills. So, and just like David, where it says prepare for the visit, there is another bullet down there. We are going to have a fantastic celebration on Friday afternoon. So Claire's Drake, WASP, Kim, or questions, or?
Thank you very, very much, all of you. That's wonderful. Are there any questions for any of these folks about this?
I have a general question. Have you noticed that teachers and parents and students who've been asked to engage in this process, they're receptive to it? I know that's kind of a general question, but I'm hoping that the process itself is a learning one for everyone involved, and I'm wondering if you can address that.
I would say yes. I mean, the people want input, and they want to share their thoughts, and they want to help us and all of us improve and make sure that their voices are heard. So I think the answer is yes. A lot of the student and parent input we're going to be doing as we move over the next couple of weeks. The staff, we had everything from thank you for making it efficient to I wish I had more time in terms of the feedback we got. I wish I had more time to look at it. So we're seeing a range of that as well. There'll be more time still to review. So my hope is by the end, I think people will feel like they had the input. They certainly have been receptive to giving it and providing some of the information and the ideas that are going to end up in that report and that self-study. So to me, it's a positive thing. I think there's some who may want to do more, and there's others who are like, thank you, this is great. I appreciate the opportunity to have given my input and move on. That helps. Liz?
Yeah, I would say, I don't have any microphone, so Chuck can hear me. I would say the same, it's true. We in fact did some feedback at the end of Tuesday and said, you know, do you want more time on WASC? Yes, no, and no. We had one person say yes. But we've also had 2 staff members ask for the full WASC report, which we've given them copies, and they want to give us feedback, which is great. I think the parents are going to be really excited about. There's been some questions about district WASC. And this is a different approach, and we've not seen this before. I'm really comfortable with the international baccalaureate schools. You do a district approach to it because you're normally looking at more than one school. So I'm very comfortable with the format. So I think explaining to them what and how great the district has been and writing so much of it has really, in my opinion, freed up the staff to do a lot more reflection and feedback on the part that's really specific to Drake. And give some great feedback to some of the stuff at the district level as well. So I think that's something that's been some questions about that, but really open and excited about kind of seeing where we're going to be able to take this. I think it really comes together in this action plan. You really start seeing, that's where I think having the teachers come in and say, we want to do this, and this is why we want to do it, is where it really kind of comes together. You begin to see that we're going somewhere with it.
Thank you.
Are there any public comments about this agenda item? Melanie?
Thank you. I had a couple of questions. One is there was reference to the 3.5-day visits at each campus. And I'm curious, but I certainly hope that the board will ask how people are selected to be interviewed by the WASC committee. What is the process behind that, just to make sure it's a representative spectrum of opinions? So that's just one question I have, but I certainly don't expect to get an answer now. And then also, I noticed that at the beginning, the statement of strengths from the previous time, I hope that each campus will provide an update on where those things stand, because, for example, on Redwoods, I would say that based on what I've heard in this forum by parents and teachers, there are a number of those things that are not currently strengths at some of the schools, and so I'm curious to see what changes have occurred. And then so I'm just bringing these up because I hope the board will be asking these questions. And then lastly, what was I going to say? Sorry, I'm tired. I'm sure you are. There was a lot of reference to bringing up the lower reaches of the student body. I saw that repeatedly through the slides. Engaging lower performing students. I don't think that was the word that was used, but in both campuses I saw reference to that. And I'm just wondering, where are the goals for our district at the higher end? It seems like there should be a balance there. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that's it. Thank you very much. The next item is D, conduct a public hearing. So I will open. Do you need to say anything before I open?
I don't think we need to do a public hearing.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
Accept it, right?
Yeah.
So,
Lori.
with that being said, I'd like to introduce the newest partner on our audit, Kevin Braynack. Kevin is going to walk you through the audit. I think I've kind of led him into believing that he might go with the summarized version, but I'll let you guys make that decision.
Cindy?
Yeah.
I just want to thank Kevin for his patience.
Yes, thank you, Kevin.
Getting to a long agenda item and being attentive.
Thank you.